4 years ago, I found the Scranton Strangler. This isn't the reveal of who he is, but this is the story of how I found him. Now, if you want to jump ahead to who he is, at the end of this video there are links provided, but I would ask that you watch the disclaimer first, which I have timestamped for your convenience, then make your choice. I am Detective Lloyd Gross, lead detective and founder of the ANTI STRANGLING TASK FORCE. I have watched The Office an embarrassing number of times, a number that I will take to the grave with me. If you say you've watched the whole series 100 times, well, I'm 100 times proud of you. The Office was a show that brought me great comfort, familiarity, and warm feelings. It would constantly be in the background while I'm doing the dishes or cleaning or doing my chores. It was on all the time. And if you're like me, you'll know that eventually you exhaust the humor of the show. The classic jokes will barely muster a chuckle out of you anymore. It's at this point where you realize you need to take a break and watch something else. So I decided to browse through Netflix to find something that I hadn't watched before, and I stumbled across this show, Making a Murderer. It had already been out for some time and I hadn't seen it. And the reason I hadn't seen it is because I was stuck in an endless time loop of watching the same TV show, which is of course The Office. It's because of The Office that I'm always behind the television and movie trends. So to give myself a break, I decided to binge watch Making a Murderer, and I finished it in the space of 2 or 3 days. At the end of it, I said to myself, it's a sad story, but it certainly was a compelling one. Now, before I continue, guys, I just want to mention that I'm not taking a position on Making a Murderer. This foreword is not about Making a Murderer. It's about the Scranton Strangler. Now, once I finished Making a Murderer, it had put into me this investigative state of mind. I was looking for the next mystery. I wanted to solve something else. The true crime genre can do this to you. The only problem, however, with the true crime genre is although the mystery can be compelling, the surrounding circumstances are more often than not sad and depressing. So naturally, I needed a pick-me-up. And where did I go? I went back to The Office. I decided to continue where I was last at in the series, which happened to be Season 6, Episode 23, Body Language. And this was the exact scene that I stumbled across.
How has being a minority affected you?
Well, there's a lot of pressure from my parents to settle down and marry an Indian guy.
Oh, good. And you resent this because?
Indian guys always wear their cell phones outside their pants. It's so dorky.
No. That's not dorky. Look, it's easily accessible. Boom, like this. 911, hello, Scranton Strangler's in the house. Inside the house.
Just put it in your pocket.
Now, having just finished Making a Murderer and wanting to solve another mystery, I realized that I had never asked the question, who is the Scranton Strangler? It was something that I had never considered before. When I saw this scene pop up, memories flashed through my mind of everything that Dwight had done. I could hear destiny calling me, saying, Dwight Schrute is the Scranton Strangler. But given that the show had already been out for a very long time, I said to myself, surely someone on the internet has already investigated this mystery and worked it all out. I'm once again behind the trends. Why? Because I've been too busy in this endless time loop of watching The Office. So I decided to Google Dwight Schrute Scranton Strangler. An eerie feeling came over me. To my astonishment, the Office channel had released a video called Making a Strangler. I could feel divine providence at work. It was bizarre. It had only been 5 minutes since I finished Making a Murderer, and there was a Making a Strangler? What? So I watched the video, and if you haven't seen the video, guys, I've linked it below in the description for you. It's a compilation of all the different mentions of the Scranton Strangler throughout the series, coupled with the moments that supposedly incriminate Toby. Now, 2 things stood out to me about this video. The first one is the opening line that we hear from Toby.
I would start at the beginning, but I think I need to go farther back.
He says, I would start at the beginning, but I feel like I need to go further back. You see, guys, the first mention of the Scranton Strangler is in season 6. That's the first moment where the concept is revealed to us. But we need to go further back. We need to go to the very beginning. And the very beginning, guys, is season 1, episode 1. The second thing that stood out to me was the fact that they had made a Making a Strangler, which is ultimately a Making a Murderer parody. If you've seen Making a Murderer, you'll know that the premise of the show is that a man has been incorrectly imprisoned for the crimes of somebody else. Now again, I'm not taking a position on the case. I'm merely taking an objective view of the journey and the narrative that we're taken through Making a Murderer. And ultimately that journey is that a man has been incorrectly imprisoned, and were it not for this lady right here, Kathleen Zellner, taking it full Zellner and basically giving the facts a colonoscopy. It is only because of her tenacity is she able to dig through all the facts, get down to the granular level, and present us with a Denny suspect. The show then goes on to justify that point of view. Now, the clue that we're actually being given here, guys, is this. If Making a Murderer, if the premise of the show is someone has been falsely accused, an attempt has been made to acquit them, a hardcore investigation of the facts happens, and ultimately a Denny suspect is provided, can we make the same assumption for Making a Strangler? That we have someone falsely accused, we have to attempt to acquit him, perform a hardcore investigation, and come up with a Denny suspect. That's what we're actually being encouraged to do, guys, with the Making a Strangler video. We're being encouraged to go full Zellner and take the approach of Kathleen Zellner.
Still the same area.
My approach on all of the post-conviction cases that I've worked on over the years is that I have to do two things simultaneously. I have to first take apart the state's entire case, but at the same time, I want to figure out exactly what happened. I'm actually driven more by the desire to know what happened, because once I figure out what happened, then the state's case collapses. Both things have to be done, because most courts are not going to vacate a murder conviction. Most courts want to know, well, what are you saying happened, you know? I mean, if you're so bold that you're taking apart the state's whole case, particularly in a case like this where such enormous effort was spent to convict Stephen Avery.
Now, up until this moment right now, there has been no full Zellner-styled investigation. Because let me tell you something, Kemosabe. The challenge of this mystery isn't finding the Scranton Strangler. That part was easy. The challenge, guys, is to explain his story. And his story is spread out over 9 years worth of episodes. Because ultimately, guys, the nature of this mystery isn't an investigation of the Scranton Strangler. It's an investigation of the writers. The writers created the Scranton Strangler. You could almost say figuratively, they are the Scranton Strangler. The concept, the character, the story is their product. It's their creation. That's who we are investigating. Not only that, the clues are spread out via a multitude of different ways. Symbolism, motif, theme, plot, camera angles, episode titles, movie references, scripting, extracurricular material. The scope of the challenge is greater than you could have ever imagined. But I know what you're probably now asking. What happened next? What happened next, guys, was this. I chose to ignore the premise that the Scranton Strangler was Toby. Like Kathleen Zellner, I said to myself, I am going to provide a Denny suspect. And the person that I'm going to accuse is Dwight Schrute. I said to myself, this video is a red herring. The second thing I did, guys, was I said to myself, if it were Dwight Schrute has been in the series from the very beginning. There should be clues left for us, not from season 6 onwards, but further back. We don't start at the beginning, guys. We need to go further back, and further back is to the beginning of the show, the pilot, season 1, episode 1. The last thing I said to myself is, if I'm going to accuse Dwight, I'm going to have to prove it. So I turned on the pilot, went back to the start of season 1, episode 1, and within 25 seconds, I found the Scranton Strangler. It was a profound moment for me, a moment that would change my life and would change the meaning of the show forever. And then the reality dawned upon me. The nature of the mystery is greater, more vast than anyone could have ever imagined. Because this, guys, ultimately is a game. We are playing a game here. Every episode is a puzzle. This Scranton Strangler mystery is the greatest Easter egg hunt in the history of film and television. There has never been anything like it ever before. It is that epic once you realize how crazy this mystery is. And ultimately, this moment is also going to change the meaning of the show for you forever. Which brings me to the disclaimer that I mentioned at the start of this video. And I want to reiterate one thing, guys. I am being deadly serious with what I'm about to say. What you don't know about me, guys, is that my brothers and I have been in a war against the machines. I can now reveal to you my real name. My name is Grorpheus, Morpheus and Dorpheus's adopted brother. And I would like for you to join the ANTI STRANGLING TASK FORCE and fight for the freedom of Toby Flenderson. I am offering you 2 pills, a blue pill and a red pill. If you take the blue pill, you will stay in the office that you have loved and known all these years. All the happy memories and all the warm feelings. Prison Mike, Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. Nothing will change and you will cut into that thick and juicy steak forevermore. However, I am also offering you a red pill. And if you take the red pill, you will be unplugged from the office matrix and see the truth for what it is. I need to stress, you cannot reverse this decision. There is no going back. You are at a fork in the road and at a point of no return. The choice is yours.